What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Gridiron Fantasy Football YouTube channel. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Today I'm going over all the Week 2 injury updates. I mean, we have a lot of guys that are not going to play this week, a lot of big names that won't be playing. So I hope that you've been keeping up with all the practice reports, keeping up with all the updates that will be coming around, the league with all the teams. But if you have not had a chance to look over all the injuries, I'm here to provide you with some depth in all the injuries that are taking place, people that will be back, people that will not be playing, and possible guys that you can pivot to if they're available on your waiver wire. So starting off, the Philadelphia Eagles right tackle Lane Johnson, he's going to be back this week. So he was dealing with an ankle injury last week, and this week he is cleared to play. So he will be a full go on Sunday, which really helps the Eagles offense. It helps Carson Wentz. If you watched the game last week, the Eagles gave up 8 sacks on Carson Wentz. And obviously that can't continue. The more hits Wentz takes, the possibility he could get injured. So the good thing that Lane Johnson is going to be back for Sunday's game. And Philadelphia Eagles running back Miles Sanders is going to be back. He practiced in full this week. He said that he's fully recovered. He's good to go. Now, Doug Peterson had said that he may be on a snap count. But based on what Sanders is saying, he wants to be a full go. He doesn't want to be limited. He wants to be able to take all the snaps he can. So the only thing you got to be concerned about is what's the upside of Miles Sanders this week. I'm playing Miles Sanders in all leagues that I own him, so I'm not going to be concerned about. I think that he'll play a majority of the snaps. I think he'll have a good game. But also, Boston Scott's a guy that, if you have him and you need to play him, then go for it. But I think Miles Sanders is going to be a full go, and he's not going to be on a snap count. But going into the San Francisco 49ers, wide receiver Brandon Ayuk is going to play this week. He's been dealing with a hamstring injury that he sustained against the Jets, but looks like he's going to play. And they need the wide receiver help. He's a guy that had a lot of hype coming into the season. He had a good training camp, and the fact of the matter is, with Deebo Samuel still out, he's a guy that people are leaning on to hopefully get some wide receiver production. They just signed Mohamed Sanu as well, but really don't know what his involvement's going to be based on only being with the team for a few days. But Brandon Ayuk is going to play. And then the big name here that's not going to play is George Kittle. So George Kittle sustained a knee injury on last Sunday's game. He did, go into the locker room at halftime. He came back out and he played, but he wasn't effective at all. He didn't have any type of stats that were recorded based on the fact that it looked like he was just pretty much a decoy. But he's not going to play this week. Now, if you were quick enough to get to the waiver wire and see this news, Jordan Reed's a guy that you can maybe reach on and try to see if you can plug him in and play. Jordan Reed is a very talented tight end. The only thing is he can't stay healthy. He's been dealing with a lot of concussions throughout his career. So if you're desperate on a tight end, you can look at Jordan Reed as someone you can fill in. Or if there's like Eric Ebron or somebody else on your waiver wire, that's somebody you can probably grab and plug in as well. And going on to the Detroit Lions, Kenny Golladay is going to be out again this week. So with that being the case, he's been dealing with a hamstring injury. So it's the second week in a row that he's going to miss. The guys that you can play if you have them or they're on your waiver wire is, play Marvin Jones. It's not the best matchup, but he's a guy that is going to get the targets. If Marvin Jones is being guarded with Alexander on the Packers, that he could shut him down. So that's the only thing about Marvin Jones is that if he's lined up against Alexander, he could be shut out the whole entire game, which would give Quintez Cephas a uptick in targets. He's a guy that should get majority of the targets and the snaps because Galladay's out. Amendola is going to be there in the slot, but a couple guys that you can plug in and play if you really need the help at wide receiver. If you're a Kenny Galladay owner and you need to find somebody to plug in and play tomorrow. Out in Denver, Philip Lindsay is not going to play this week. He is out with turf toe. And if you don't know what turf toe is, it's the sprain of the big toe joint. So with that being the case, based on the different grade of a sprain that it could be, so we have grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. If he's dealing with a grade 1 toe sprain, that means that he is going to be out maybe this week. So he may only miss this 1 week, but if it's a grade 2 or grade 3, you're talking about a few weeks to up to a month or two that he could have to recover. So I would still hold on to Philip Lindsay to kind of see if he comes back for the game in week 3. But it could be the time where if you have Melvin Gordon, you lucked out because he's going to be the bell cow. So with that being the case, I can't see Melvin Gordon not being the guy who gets the majority of the snaps. You still have Royce Freeman there that could relieve Gordon when he needs it, but right now Melvin Gordon is going to be the guy in Denver. So unfortunate news for Philip Lindsay. I like him; he's a hard runner, but unfortunately he'll be dealing with this turf toe for a little bit now. So hopefully he has a quick recovery. Okay, out in Dallas, Amari Cooper is dealing with a foot injury. It's noted that he's going to play this week, so he has already stated that he's going to play. You don't expect Amari Cooper to miss any time. However, any time that he's on the injury report, I feel like he doesn't really have good games. He had majority of the targets on Sunday of last week, and against a tough opponent. So the fact of the matter is that they fed the ball to Amari Cooper, but I don't know exactly how he's going to do dealing with the foot injury. We have no idea if he's going to be on a limited snap count. I don't see that happening unless he really re-aggravates it during the game. But for me, I think this is a game for Michael Gallup and CeeDee Lamb. I think CeeDee Lamb has an opportunity to break out this game. I know I'm playing him in one of my leagues. I lost A.J. Brown, which I'll get to in a moment, but I had a feeling with CeeDee Lamb. But I think that with him being in the slot, he's going to be a guy that could have a good game against the Falcons. But just be careful on Amari Cooper. Not saying that he's going to have a bad game or anything, but dealing with the foot injury, one wrong move can cause him to miss the rest of the game. So, but if you have him, you're playing him. All right, out in Tampa, Mike Evans is still dealing with a hamstring injury. He has been dealing with it for quite some time now, but he did play in week 1. Unfortunately, he was limited. He only had one catch for a touchdown late in the fourth quarter, but Lattimore pretty much shut him out the whole entire game. But on the flip side, he's going to play this week. He's good to go against the Panthers. He should be a full go, which is good news because Chris Godwin is not going to play. He is out for week 2 against the Panthers, which, it was unfortunate because he was placed in the concussion protocol later on in the practice week this week, and that's never a good sign, obviously. So he did have some reports that he was at practice, but he still had to go through some extra hurdles to clear the concussion protocol. And with the game being tomorrow, he's not going to play. So Chris Godwin is a guy that you cannot play. He's on your bench. And if you really are in a pinch, the two guys that you can grab on the Tampa Bay roster, if that's somebody you want to try to gravitate towards, Justin Watson is available and Scotty Miller should be available. But Scotty Miller was a hot pickup this week in the waiver wire. So if you're playing a PPR league, the first guy that I'll look for to see if it's available is Scotty Miller. He has a rapport with Tom Brady. Tom Brady is known to talk him up, and he likes him. He had decent target share on Sunday against the Saints. So if you really need a guy on the Tampa Bay Bucks roster, I will go Scotty Miller first, then Justin Watson second. And then going on to Indianapolis, Jack Doyle will not play this week. He could miss a few weeks. He's dealing with an ankle injury. Now, a replacement for him is Mo Alley Cox. If that's a guy that is available in your league, he's a massive human being. He's a guy that really is a freak athlete, being how big he is. But he's a guy that if just like earlier, if you need somebody if you have George Kittle and Jordan Reed's not available, maybe try to look for someone like Eric Ebron or Mo Alley Cox because based on your league setup on who's available, there might be some option for you if you need to. But it looks like Jack Doyle is going to be out for a few weeks. And then in Pittsburgh, James Conner will play in week 2 against the Broncos. It was unsure since he got injured on Monday night if he was going to play tomorrow, and it looks like James Conner will play. It doesn't seem like he'll be limited at all, but it's unfortunate to everyone who had grabbed Benny Snell on the waiver wire this week, but he's still a good asset to have because who knows when a next injury could happen to James Conner. But he's going to play this week, so if you have him, it's a tough matchup, but I'm sure that James Conner is one of the running backs that you have to play, so you're going to have to play James Conner and hope for the best. Hopefully he scores a touchdown this week. And then Tennessee, wide receiver A.J. Brown will be out for week 2 against the Jags. He's dealing with the bone bruise in his knee. If you don't know what a bone bruise is, pretty much he took a shot to the knee on Monday night, which a bone bruise means that all the soft tissue from the superficial levels all the way down to the bone got damaged. accumulation of blood has built up, which that's a normal thing for a bone bruise. There's no fracture to the bone, but it could take weeks for him to recover from it. So you may see AJ Brown out for a few weeks. I hope that you're able to find somebody on the waiver wire that you can plug in, put on your bench. But it's unfortunate because AJ Brown was a guy that I had as a breakout this year. I thought, he's a very talented wide receiver, and it's unfortunate that he's a guy that's gonna be out for a few weeks. Corey Davis is a guy that you could grab if he's available. He's dealing with a hamstring injury himself. He was tied with AJ Brown with targets on Monday night, so he was very involved in the game plan on Monday. So I can see him being part of the game plan again if he's healthy and ready to go. And then it looks like Raiders wide receiver Henry Ruggs, his knee, he did not practice on Friday, but the latest reports now is that he's going to try to play on Monday night. The only problem is that he plays on Monday. So if you do have Henry Ruggs and you have to play him, if you're in a deep league, hopefully you have somebody to pivot to just in case he's inactive. So a guy that you could grab is Bryan Edwards. He's a guy that you could maybe plug and play. Henry Renfrow is a guy that you can plug and play. If you have Ruggs on your roster and you have to wait until Monday night, just make sure you're able to pivot those guys if available. And also too, if you have somebody I would put Henry Ruggs in your flex position, because if you put him in a wide receiver position and he does not play and he's stuck in that position, you can't substitute that player out. So make sure anybody who's injured and you're not sure who's going to play, make sure they're in your flex. But it looks like he's going to try to go. So if you have Henry Ruggs, you may be okay there, but have a contingency plan just in case. Now, Dolphins wide receiver Devante Parker, he's dealing with a hamstring injury. He's going to be a game time decision for week 2. However, he wants to play. It looks like he's going to be good to go. But we have no idea what the risk will be if he goes out there and re-aggravates his hamstring. It could be bad for your fantasy roster. So if I'm you, I'm not going to play Parker, only because he's going against Tre'Davious White of the Buffalo Bills, and that's the guy who shuts down everybody. So if Parker is not going to play, if he is inactive, then Preston Williams becomes the number 1 receiver for the Dolphins. However, if Preston Williams is the number 1 wide receiver for the Dolphins, that means that he's going to be going against White, which I think no wide receiver this week for the Dolphins is worthy to play, unless you're desperate to play somebody in your wide receiver position or in your flex. But right now I'm low on all the Dolphins wide receivers right now, so I'm not playing against Buffalo. And then back to the Broncos, Courtland Sutton is going to be a game time decision dealing with the shoulder injury. Same thing, a lot of the inactives will come out around 11:30, 12 o'clock Eastern time. So just pay attention to what will be going on with that stuff. I mean, you may know before then, you may know by late Saturday night if Courtland Sutton's going to play, but just pay attention to all the reports that are coming out. And then unfortunate news with New Orleans Saints wide receiver Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas is dealing with a high ankle sprain, and there was some hope that he was going to play this week, but it looks like he's going to be out. Like I said, but things can change. But usually with the high ankle sprain, the same thing that Alvin Kamara and then Saquon Barkley dealt with last year, both missed significant time because of it. I think if I'm Michael Thomas, I'm going to let myself recover from it. It's unfortunate news for Drew Brees, because Drew Brees is a guy that he didn't throw for a lot of yards last Sunday against the Bucs. Michael Thomas was pretty much shut down. Now we could contribute that to the injury or whatnot, but he wasn't really effective. So I would say that if Traquan Smith is a guy that you can grab if he's available. Emmanuel Sanders becomes an option there because he'll get the targets, and then Alvin Kamara will be a guy out of the backfield. I'll probably get a lot of the check down stuff, but if you own Michael Thomas, it sucks because he's a guy that is fun to watch. He was the number 1 wide receiver last year, and right now to see all these guys going down so early is unfortunate. But have a contingency plan. Hopefully you did something to help pivot. If Thomas is not able to play, I know he was trying to. I know there was little hope that he can, but I'm gonna say and bet that he's not gonna play. So just have a plan ready to go just in case. And then in Atlanta, Julio Jones has been dealing with a hamstring injury for the last couple weeks, but it didn't keep him from playing. He had a decent game last week. He had over 150 yards receiving. So I think with that being the case, he's a guy that you can still play. I'm not concerned about it unless he was missing more practice, or if he was missing some game time, but it looks like he's going to be good to go. So that's it. That's all the injury updates for week 2. I hope you found that very informative. I hope that some of the guys that we had mentioned that you can pivot to, they're on your waiver wire that you can plug and play. But this is the life of the NFL season, the fantasy football season. Guys are going to get injured, and unfortunately, you got to find ways to pivot to help kind of keep your roster going strong while these guys are recovering. But if you have any other fantasy football questions with start sits, with trades, with anything, please email me at chip@gridironfantasyfootball.com, or you can leave a comment below in the comments about any questions you may have. So with that being said, good luck tomorrow in your fantasy football week. I hope you guys win, and I'll see you on the Monday podcast when I go over my week 2 reactions and all the fantasy stars for week 2. Take care.